Hello, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. You are now entering Season 2 of the Swan Hockey Podcast. Swan Hockey is flying around the junior hockey world one episode at a time. You'll experience things dreams are made of, as well as things of terrible nightmares. Strap in, hold on, and enjoy the ride. And now, Swan Hockey.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Swan Hockey. We are in Season 2, and today I am joined by Bill Underwood. Bill, what's going on? Obviously, no stranger. How you doing today?
Well, typical middle of hockey season stuff, doing well, getting ready for a weekend of games and typical stuff going on.
Yep, never a dull moment. So I want to dive into the USHL and the CHL and USA Hockey today. So obviously there's a lot going on with that right now, a ton of speculation, a lot of moving parts, and I have a bold prediction that I put out on social media, and what I think is a very good chance of happening. And I'll say I think this is going to happen. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to make the prediction. I think what's going to happen with the CHL and the USHL is I don't think the USHL is going to join the CHL. We all know the USHL went out and trademarked the name National Junior Hockey League recently. I think what's going to happen is I think the USHL is going to create a new league called the National Junior Hockey League. And I think that new league is going to be over the top of the USHL. And that's the league that I think will join the CHL, because the USHL is comprised of the haves and the have-nots. And I think the haves will go into the NJHL and join the CHL. And I think the have-nots will stay in the USHL, because let's face it, the USHL on a whole, they cannot join the CHL with the way they operate today without it being a shit show, right? If we want to go to shit show route and have all these different things going on, sure, they could join. But I don't think that, not without going the shit show route, the USHL, I don't think can join the CHL, and I don't think they will. What do you think? And just to top it off, that new NJHL, I think you'll see it if it starts this upcoming season, which I don't think is outside the realm of possibility. I think you will see it start with 4 to 6 teams, possibly 8 if they bring in 2 expansion teams, which not saying it's ideal, but I think that's how it would start.
Well, nothing's impossible. However, there are a lot of problems with that. Number one, the USHL has always denied that there's going to be a breakaway league. When I've talked to them, about different things, their officials, and they've always, once I did mention that some of their teams might break off and do something separate, and they vehemently said that's not going to happen. And there's another thing that comes into play, because I know people in the USHL. And the other thing has to be considered is contractual agreements. They bought into the USHL, those owners did. Now, chucking them out is not such a simple process, as long as their owners in good standing legally. No more than it was easy for Muskegon just to transplant a USHL team to the Ontario League, or for Youngstown to do it. There are contractual implications here. And that's something that gets you a whole other matter. If I bought one of those teams for the large amount that USHL teams go to have a USHL team, and they're suddenly saying out with you, I would suddenly have my lawyers in touch with them.
Well, I don't think anybody's getting kicked out. In fact, I think it's the complete opposite. I think that's why there's going to be a breakaway league, is this way the league can maintain its contractual obligations to the existing members that don't want to go the CHL route or don't have the means to go the CHL route, right? That's why right now I think there's a split. I think you have the haves and the have-nots, and I think the haves want to go the CHL route. The have-nots can't go to CHL route. And I think instead of kicking the have-nots out, I think that's why they create a new higher level league, and the haves go there, and then the have-nots still playing the USHL and not have any contractual obligations broken.
there are still problems in that. 'Cause you're basically
What?
devaluing their product. Number one, you're devaluing that owner's product, what he bought. You're devaluing it, and that is something you can make an argument about. Yeah, and also, do all the owners of the teams, the wealthier teams, want to have their profit margin cut into? Because remember, you're in this for profit. Anybody thinks these guys are all in it for hockey. Owners in any league are all in it for hockey are being a bit naive.
No,
These
of course
guys
not.
want the bottom line. Now, suddenly you're telling me, let's see, I have to increase my budget by X amount. If I'm one of those USHL owners, if I'm one of them, I might be inclined to say, no, I don't want to do that. I'd rather continue the path I'm going and continue pulling in the profit I'm pulling in.
Right,
As
and they
opposed to
could.
going, exactly. I mean, would you want to go into the CHL or start a sister league in there where you have to suddenly increase your spending considerably? Or are you really going to want to do that? And that's a question they have to ask too. There are not, and like the name being registered. Remember, there's another possibility here that I smell National Hockey League behind that and marketing thing, because National Junior Hockey League they probably had to get NHL approval for because it's very close to NHL. It could be something, could be a trademark issue. So going and putting that in there, and when they had a meeting with Gary Bettman and whatnot, I have a feeling the NHL would love the USHL to come under the name National Junior Hockey League. I think they'd love it. And does that mean they necessarily want a new league? No, it might mean they want to just rename this league and have it say it's more close to their trademark. So is it possible what you're saying? Of course it is. And but I think in the end, for it to be done through a process like that, it's not a definite. And I think you need 6 teams because 4 teams is not a league. You need 6 teams. And of course, you have other problems, of course, that have to be overcome. The CHL has teams in the United States. Those teams aren't going to go away. They're happy where they are. They're members in good standing. They're staying. So they're going to stay. So would they have the rights to the entire United States? No, they wouldn't if they came into the CHL. There had to be some accommodation. And it might be something that isn't as all-encompassing. That's something I think also that USHL people have to look at. Will they, what will access to players be? If I'm the Michigan teams, the OHL, I'm saying, wait a minute, you want to come in and take Michigan players? We're in here. This is our this should be our territory. If I'm sitting there at one of those teams, the Pacific Northwest, I don't want you coming into Oregon or Washington. This is our territory. So it might be I think it's something that's going to be an accommodation. Obviously, at some point, I think something will happen to create an equilibrium in junior hockey. I think you never know. Having a USHL involved somehow with a CHL is something that nobody's putting off the table. The nature of it is something that's another matter. What it will be exactly, we don't know. The dust hasn't cleared, and it's all very theoretical at this point. Theoretical.
So do you think that this?
Whatever. So,
do you think that this is still in such infancy stages that there is no real path or plan at this point? Like, do you think that right now this is nothing more than a possible rebrand of the USHL to the National Junior Hockey League?
It could be either. But I think in the end, for it to be the first to be being a new league, I think there are an awful lot of hurdles to go through, an awful lot. Legal and other hurdles to go through and get the teams that really have the financing long term going to come in and commit to that financing. So remember, this isn't Canada. You don't have TV. You don't have the massive corporate sponsorship. You're not going to get that. You don't have necessarily the attendance in all the cities. Most of the cities that be coming in are reliant on attendance.
Do you think at this point it might be nothing more than a rebrand? Like, do you think that that's the most probable outcome right now for the near future, like the next 1 to 2 years? Do you think the most probable outcome is it's nothing more than a rebrand?
I think in the current environment, we can never say what the most probable future is, but it's certainly a possible thing.
I'm sorry?
Because I don't think in the current climate we can say anything's probable, but we can say it's possible. I think one thing
everything's possible.
I think it's going to take a while for any real accommodation and equilibrium to set in. I don't think it's going to be a quick fix. And I think
what do you think it is though? Right? It's like, obviously we talked about the financial part of it, right? I think that there's guys in the USHL that they want to take on the financial undertaking. Like if you let them choose, I think they would say, yes, let's go CHL right now. I do think those guys are there in the USHL, right? It's like, what do you like? and a lot of like the financial differences, I don't really see them changing over the next couple of years. So like, what do you see the path forward being to kind of appease both sides, right? Like what I said, like, I think that's the most probable outcome. And I think it's, maybe one of the only outcomes that I could think of that would kind of make everybody happy and enable them to do what they want to do. Like what do you think the solution is given the current environment, the financial differences, everything, that you had mentioned?
I don't know if that's an easy thing to answer. And look, we're still adjusting to the
like, what do you think the most probable is?
Most probable, we really don't know, because this whole thing, a lot of improbabilities have already happened. And so to say that we're done with improbabilities, we're not. So, I think there'll probably have to be some point, it makes perfect sense. I've said for 40 years to have an American sort of presence with the CHL. But the realities are, is it that simple, having an American presence with them? Is it that simple? Because and the other issue is how many owners really are willing to give up those profits to be significant. And remember, it's not like franchise values are going to bump up because of this. They aren't. Because remember, how you get that franchise value bump is going into a league like the OHL is an established high franchise value. And also you do have a lot of ancillary revenues you can get through revenue sharing and whatnot. Here you don't have ancillary revenues. And you're not going into a league. Basically, what is the value of this new league? Well, let's be realistic about it. It's all it is a renamed league that will get a shot at the Memorial Cup. It doesn't have new revenues. It doesn't have any new. When I sit and think like an accountant, not a hockey guy, what is it going to offer me that is different from what I'm getting now in the USHL? What it's offering me is actually a net loss. So I'm going to sit there and say a team that used to make this much.
A lot of it, what's it going to offer? It's going to stroke the ego, right? A lot of it's ego. Yeah. Guys want to be in that top league. If they didn't want to be in the top league, maybe a lot of guys would be like, hey, like we're cool what we're doing now. Like we don't, right? Nothing's the only, and again, like there's different moving parts because I know the NHL wants this as well or wants something done as well. But there's a lot of guys in the USHL that I would say are not content being second fiddle to the CHL. It's an ego thing. And I'm not saying they're wrong or bad for wanting that, right? Different strokes for different folks, right? But I think there's a good amount of people that it irks them that they're not the top dog anymore, in terms of like the college development path.
But the point is they never were top dog overall. If you want to be top dog, you'd have bought into the CHL, or if you want to be top dog, you'd have bought into the American Hockey League. Why don't you buy an AHL franchise if you want to be top dog in minor league hockey? That's where you want to own a team.
I'm saying for like the college development path, and in that like there because don't forget there was a lot of people that were tricked, right? You and I have always said forever that the CHL was a superior league to the USAHL, but there was a lot of people that said that you and I were full of shit, right? And now everybody's seeing that, hey, I guess the CHL is superior, right? So while it may never have been true that the USHL was on par, there was a lot of people that pretended like it was, right? And it stroked the ego. Now it doesn't stroke the ego anymore.
Who were the people whose ego were being stroken? General managers, scouts, and coaches, not owners. The general manager, scouts, and coaches.
I would say owners too. I think those guys. Big purchase. Owning a team. There's a lot of pride behind that, right? And I think for some of those guys, not all, but I think for some of those guys or a lot of those guys, I think that was one of the prideful things. Is hey, we're the top dog, at least in the United States, and in terms of college development. Right? Like, or they would say, hey, we are the top dog. The CHL, maybe it's better. Maybe, I don't know, but there's an asterisk next to it. They can't send their kids to college. So no, back to, we're the top dog.
In all my years dealing with owners, I did the franchise transaction business for a long time. Money is a real bottom line factor. And as far as stroking the ego goes, it's not, look, I know guys whose ego stroke being the ECHL. They have no ambition to go to the American Hockey League. Why? Because they still own a professional hockey team.
Different folks.
Well, the point is, if they win the ECHL, they're very happy. Their ego is stroked, and they know they will lose money going to the AHL. So in the end, I don't know very many guys that have been that suicidal as to say, gee, I want to lose more money just for name, unless they go to the National
But they
Hockey
are
League.
out there.
No, I don't think as many as you think. I think a lot of these guys.
But they are out there, right?
There are one or two maniacs. There are one or two maniacs. Some they usually end up out of the game within 2 or 3 years because eventually the losses are just too darn much. There are very few Jerry Joneses out there that love football, but let's remember Jerry Jones also runs one of the most profitable franchises in the National Football League. The smile might be wiped off his face if he owned Jacksonville or Cincinnati. He might not be so excited.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pride behind owning a team in any league, and I think that I think one of the things for the USHL was always that it was the top league for the NCAA bound athlete.
And it was a good money-making league always because it makes a lot of money. Now, is that going to change? They'll still make the same money. Do I really see people stop going to watch USHL games, these little Midwestern towns? No, it's their hockey team. They don't care. It's not going to reduce their attendance. Do I really see kids? I agree there. Do I really see kids not flooding their camp? You may have more kids coming to camp now saying, gee, I think I can make this league now because a lot of the best guys are gone. You may have that 300 kid camp go to 500 now. So paying customers at $500 a piece to try out for the league.
I could also see that.
So in the end, I just don't see a bottom line reason for a lot of owners to do it. Now, some may. Could you see a renegade league doing it? Yeah, maybe, or something like that. It's possible. But do I see it necessarily the way? I always think you have to sit there and look carefully at the finances. And you have a lot of people are more than happy to lose to basically pass on profit. So in the end, it may happen, but it's something that, again, a lot of things have to be massaged. You have to find people who are willing to do that. And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm saying that it's not a slam dunk that you can find a bunch of USHL owners will say, oh, yeah, I'm prepared to go and slice my profits by maybe 30% to go into the CHL just to satisfy my ego. Go from maybe being a very highly profitable franchise, being a franchise just barely makes money or maybe and doesn't make money. I don't know if there are a lot of guys who will say, just for my ego, I'll do that, because if it's just for their ego, why don't they just lay down the money and buy a CHL team? There are some for sale. You could go and lay down money and be in the CHL very easily. If you found the right team, you could buy it. These guys, I don't see any inclination to buy it. So, and why don't they buy a professional team? Why don't they buy into the ECHL or buy into the AHL?
Listen, I stand by it. I stand by it. I think you will see USHL teams in the CHL. I don't think it's going to be all new owners. I think you will see current owners move their, join the CHL. And because it also comes to wants too, right? Like a great example is Penticton, right? Penticton, they were always the top dog in that college bound, avenue for players. And they enjoyed that, right? That was something that they wanted out of the game and out of what they were doing on a daily basis of owning, coaching, all that stuff. And that all got stripped away from them with this new rule. So what did they do? They said, hey, this is what we want out of this. They went out. They bought a CHL franchise. They joined the CHL. So I think you have those types of guys in the USHL as well that also say, hey, this is like, we enjoy developing this talent. This is what we want out of the game. This is our why for doing it. This is why we do it. We got to make a move here so we can keep going with what our personal goals are as well.
There's some considerable differences. Number one, Penticton is Canada, not the United States. Different market, different place, different finances.
Yeah, but same concept.
Not really. It's a concept that if you go to the WHL, first off, all their sponsors may be saying, hey, we're not so interested in the DCHL anymore. We are interested in the WHL, however. This is Canada, and we want the best. And there are corporate sponsors available. You may have a lot of fans in Penticton.
But Bill, that option was always available to them, right? Those corporate sponsors could have always sponsored a WHL team. Like nothing changed there. Like they still had. They currently had major junior in the area. If anything, that argument would work more for the United States, where sponsors might say, "Hey, you're not the top dog anymore. We want to sponsor a top dog." I mean, like it's kind of different, but it's kind of the same.
It doesn't, because in the United States, no one cares. Like in Trenton, would you increase the franchise success, that amazingly going to the American Hockey League? You'd probably lose money in Trenton going to the American Hockey League, unless you're the Flyers affiliate, in which case you probably would take a bath. The fact of the matter is, people would go to games down. I always say the United States in football, the United States is the same way with football as hockey is in Canada. In the United States, quality of football does matter. The CFL would never cut it down here. Why? Because it's second-rate football. But in Canada, they love it.
What do you think the bottom line is? Despite all these, obstacles or whatever, I believe that major junior is coming to the United States. Do you believe, bottom line, even despite all these obstacles and the financial differences and everything, do you think at the end result is that major junior is in the United States?
Eventually, there will be some sort of accommodation, and it might well be that. Probably will be some American participation, yes, but what form it'll be, I'm not sure, and how long it'll take, I'm not sure. And the issue is, like major junior coming to the United States, the problem with starting a league is, first off, let's start out with a basic fact. You need 6 teams. Anything less than 6 teams is not a league. Number 2, that means you need 6 sites that will work, 6 cities that are going to work, 6 owners that will work. And oh yeah, they should be within a reasonable traveling distance. If one is 3,000 miles away from the other, you're getting air travel, you might as well sign your own death warrant. If you're going to air travel, you better have them within a region that is within bus driving travel. You don't want to get into flights. And so therefore, it have to be 6 teams in a region. You can't have them spread out throughout the country, dotted out throughout the country, because then you're signing your own death warrant. So you've got to have some cost-effective thing. Now, where can you find 6 cities like that is the question that will work. Probably the Midwest. But are those teams willing to go and say, okay, we'll give up what we have to go major junior? That's another question. Because look, to be honest with you, in Minnesota, they prefer high school hockey to any of it anyway. So therefore, in the end, you're dealing with a market out there that's different. And again, it's not that they don't know hockey, but they love hockey to the point, their local hockey, and cherish it to the point they'd rather watch high school and college over the National Hockey League.
So do you think these will be 6?
Anomaly.
Do you think these will be 6 brand new franchises, no USHL teams?
It's hard to tell. It could be either. It could, this USHL depends if they have the legality and the initiative to do that. You could see it happen. It could be forced on them. But look, 25 years ago, when I was doing more of the promoting and crop disturbing entrepreneur stuff, it's something I would think about starting a league like that. But operative word, think about. I don't know if I push it, because again, when I look at the numbers, I say, I think I have a lot of questions if this is going to really work and be profitable. In the end, I have the feeling that the profitability is fragile at best, because you're going to have to suddenly have a rather large amount of revenue that isn't coming in really anywhere, except for a couple places coming in a little bit. But to say it'd be an extremely profitable league, do I see us join like in London and Kitchener, 7,000 to 10,000? No. I think you have to subside on considerably less than that. Do I see massive national sponsorship? Absolutely not. I see local and regional sponsors you get on board, sure. But anything beyond that, I don't expect. Television outside of internet type TV, absolutely not. Do I see you getting any sort of major radio revenue? You'll get local radio. That's about it. And if you're lucky, you might get a couple games televised on a local TV station. But it's, I just don't see where you're going to pull in the revenue that's going to match some of those OHL franchises and match the WHL and QMJHL and possibly make a real profit. So there has to be some mechanism figured out that makes it financially workable. Now, one mechanism might be is if somebody had 6 league-owned franchises and did a centrally owned league, that might be an approach that could almost work, because you have a lot of control on spending. You'd have pooled resources to help prop up the weaklings a little bit and make sure that everything works. One guy came up with the idea of a non-profit model back 25 years ago or so. A young guy I knew that was just getting into the business, just a non-profit model for professional hockey where each team would be a non-profit. But that's problematical too, because non-profits are watched like a hawk. You have to be very careful about how you make it nonprofit, how you make it attractive to have a nonprofit for somebody to get involved in. So why do you invest in it? So there would be ways to do it. It could happen. Could the USHL do precisely what you're saying? Yes, but I'm just not saying it's going to happen. I think people should not worry about USHL because it's going to survive. People should not worry about American junior hockey. It's going to survive. It's just like everybody else. Glenn said it himself once. It's just the cycling of talent. Picture a windstorm. The cycle of winds has changed a little bit for everybody. It's not going to destroy anybody. It's just going to change everybody. It's just going to be a new reality. Now, will they survive? They're going to survive. There will be adjustments, yes. And I do hope, I'll put this way, I'll use the word hope, that someday there will be some U.S. entity involved in Major Junior. I say the word hope. Do I think it's possible? Yes. For 40 years, I hoped it would happen. And do I think it's possible? Yeah, but I just think there are a lot of hurdles you have to go over first. And if they get them done by next year, that'd be very interesting. I'd love to see their business plan and see what magic they came up with. But, it's something that to me sounds like it's going to be a difficult thing. And in the end, you got to ask yourself the question, do you want to destroy everything that's built by the USHL? There are a lot of franchises there. Do we want to sort of sentence them to being tier 2 teams and do some
that was the next thing that I was
way?
going to get into. So that might even be a different episode. But if this goes down the way that I'm saying, and you have the NJHL at the top, right? Theoretically, that would put the USHL at tier 2 and the North American Hockey League at tier 3 or junior B, whatever you want to call it. That will be the next big, massive, head exploding thing going on in the junior hockey world, but it'll be very interesting. Bill, thank you very much for doing this.
Well, there's one other thing I do want to touch on though. USA Hockey. USA Hockey is another thing that's going to get involved. Now, how are they going to go? Remember, everybody in USA Hockey has a vote. And so you go to the junior council with a proposal for a new league. How is that going to go over telling the North American League they're tier 3? How's it going to go over telling some USHL owners to go tier 2? USA Hockey could be an impediment to this. And would you be able to do this without USA Hockey? That's another question. Could you go renegade? Theoretically, yes, you could, and just say the hell with it. Then you have to deal with the CHL, which still does deal with Hockey Canada, and so are you going to be able to really cut a deal with as a league that's not dealing through USA Hockey with a league that does deal through their Canadian body with IIHF even accept it? There are a lot of things. Like I say, I'm not being a wet blanket and saying it's impossible, but at the same time, I'm just saying there are a lot of steps to go through, and I hope the steps, as they're taken towards whatever accommodation we're getting to, will be for the good of everybody. And I think there can be some solution found that'll be good for everybody.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There's definitely a lot of hurdles. But yeah, that's my bold prediction. I don't think I've ever been accused of not making bold statements. That's my bold prediction. But it's going to be really interesting, and yeah, well, time will tell. But hey, Bill, thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Sounds great. Talk to you later.
All right, awesome. And guys, let us know what you think. Let us know in the Discord. Hop in. Let us know. Don't forget to join Season Pass Rewards, our free rewards program, completely free to join. You could earn points simply for streaming these episodes, and you can claim different rewards. And all you need is an email address to sign up, completely free to join. And swanhockey.io if you want to join Season Pass Rewards. And until next time, I will see you guys in the Discord. See you guys. See you, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Swan Hockey Podcast. We remind you that season pass points are available to listeners. For more information, please visit www.swanhockey.io. Until next time.